and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn, and today I will be creating a slider card using some dies from TLC Designs. So I'm going to start off by doing some ink blending, and this I think I need to clean my little brushes because I think they're just so saturated with ink that I'm not really getting a smooth blend like I used to. And so I'll probably go clean those out because when I switched over to this larger the larger, I guess it's an ergonomic kind of blending brush, which is great for these larger panels. Everything went on so much more smoothly. So I think your brushes really make a big difference, and I wish I could have, I wish I could dedicate um, these big brushes, one per color. But I guess by not being able to do that, it is forcing me to clean it out because I think the issue that the other brushes have is because they're just accumulating just too much ink in them. So, this top panel here is going to be sort of like a night sky. So, I did this color combination once and I really, really liked it. So it's a bit of abandoned coral. For the purple, I actually used two different colors because one of them is a distress ink, so it doesn't work quite as well. The Dusty Concord here, that's the real color I want to use, but I try to put a foundation of some the lavender distress oxide just so that it blends a little bit better. And then I have chipped sapphire at the top. And I'm splattering with some water just to lift some of that color so that you could either see it as maybe like a starry night sky. I was sort of going for snowfall. So to add a little, even more dimension to that, I am going to splatter some white. And I kept having to thin this down to the point where it would actually kind of flick off of the brush. So I'm trying to also get a variety of small little white flecks because the when I splattered the water, I got pretty large droplets on there, and it wasn't quite the look I was going for, but I think it still looks okay. So here I'm gonna start on my slider mechanism. So TLC Designs has some really fun interactive die sets. This one is the Slimline Multi-Slider, and you'll find in this set that there are different lengths of slider tracks that you can create or cut out. And I've cut it out of some 120-pound heavyweight cardstock. This is my favorite way to make sliders. I just punch out, these happen to be 3/4 of an inch, and I punch out 4 discs, two for that are out of 120-pound and two that are out of 60-pound. And the two that are out of 60-pound are the ones in the center that I folded in half. And the two thicker circle discs are what I attach the thinner ones to. And the reason for that is the thinner weight cardstock is going to be easier to bend and fold, and the thicker heavyweight cardstock is going to offer some good stability on that disc. So I'm doing a little bit of trimming just to make sure that after I put this bottom more teal blue section on top of my the sky background, I still want to be able to see some of that pink come through. So I just keep trimming that down until I'm happy with the composition. But the main reason for that teal panel is to cover the slider mechanism too. So it can't get cut too short, otherwise it's not going to fully cover that the slider. This is some of my slightly thicker foam. I would say this is probably closer to a 3mm 2 or 3. I think it's more than 2, probably 3 to 4 millimeter thick. And I've cut it into these super narrow strips because this is going to be how I attach the slider mechanism to my card base. So I have the thicker foam on the back here where I've already attached my pull tab, which is 1 inch high, and I'll trim it down to the right length once I put this up against my card base to see how long of a section I really need. And that just gives the slider some room to move. And I will also be attaching some foam to the top of this slider mechanism, but in that case I use my thinner 1 millimeter deep foam, and that's more because they're really I didn't feel like I needed the extra space at the top, but I do make a mistake later, which I tend to always make with the slider mechanism, but it's not the kind of mistake that's unrecoverable. So I'll mention it when I get to that point. So the key with sliders or any kind of interactive mechanism really is anything that has to move. You just want to make sure you don't inhibit that movement in any way. So wherever you're placing foam, wherever you're placing any adhesive at all, you just want to make certain that you're not putting that adhesive or foam anywhere that might block the movement of the pull tab in this case. And when I go to attach this lovely girl who's ice skating to the front of this, you'll see this is sort of where I always kind of make the same mistake. So this is my low profile foam, and really the only place you need to put adhesive is on the bottom, the left, and the right, not where I'm putting foam right now. The reason for that is because that part cannot get attached to your card base because the front of the pull tab has that circular disc there. Attached to that disc is going to be the sort of the stand that I'll be right here, this acetate stand that I'll be attaching my girl to. So that stand needs to travel across the top of that slider mechanism, and so that's why you can't really attach that adhesive down to the card, because if you do, the plastic stand or acetate stand won't be able to move across there. So it's not the end of the world. It's just a little bit of wasted adhesive, because now that it's there, I'm not going to try to lift it up. All I did was I attached the same thickness of foam when I attached my acetate stand, so that it's basically going to slide at the same kind of level. And when I go to attach my front panel to it, I just won't lift the paper liner to stick that down. So here I'll go ahead and stick this to my card base. Now hold on tight to your pull tab. I got a little bit of wet adhesive on it accidentally, so I wiped it before going to put this down, because again, you just don't want to, especially if you're using a liquid adhesive, you want to make sure that you don't get that liquid adhesive anywhere that needs to move. And if you do, you can just wipe it off. If you're worried even more, you can sort of brush it with an anti-static powder as well to remove that stickiness. And But I do like to use a liquid adhesive with my interactive mechanisms because once that liquid adhesive dries, it's going to be a super strong hold. And my liquid adhesive of choice is Lenco pH neutral. It's a very, it's technically a bookbinding. A lot of bookbinding artists will use it in their bookmaking. And so it's archival safe and all of that good stuff, but it's also really strong, really low water content, so it has a very fast grab to it, and you don't need much. A little goes a long way, and it's a very affordable glue too. Okay, so I'm using the Action stamp set to stamp out a little arrow so that you know this is a pull tab. There's something that interactive that you can do. I was trying for a moment there to see if I could punch out a little thumb notch from the bottom of the pull tab, or basically out of the card base. But since I didn't think about it in advance, I couldn't get my hole punch in there, or my circle punch in there. And I didn't want to try to tear everything up. Since I did use liquid adhesive, I knew it would definitely tear up my card. So I'm just going to go with it. It's a little bit fiddly to get to the pull tab, but it's still possible. I just wanted to make it as easy to get to as I could. And so, as you saw there, when I went to attach this panel, my top panel, I did not lift up the paper liner from that top section of adhesive that I incorrectly put down. So everything still works. It was a mistake, but everything still works, and you just have to kind of realize it before lifting that paper liner. So here I'm just adding a couple more pieces of foam adhesive just to have this be a little bit more secure where that thumb notch is, because that's where people are going to be grabbing the notch. So if it's not well secured, it's likely to get kind of crumpled or bent. And I want to try to hide this acetate stand as much as possible. So I've folded it down, and I'll be attaching my my girl to the top of this. And when I did this, it works fine, but she's a little bit more. I guess because that acetate can't really fold down super flat. It felt like her legs were a little bit too far from the card base. So what I decided to do was, I've just decided to actually tuck the acetate stand behind that front panel so that it doesn't have the natural tendency to kind of pop up. And since I did have to remove the foam, I wanted to remove all the sticky, and so I used my anti-static powder. I use baby powder, and I just brushed that on there so that none of the residual foam that I rolled off is going to be sticky still. And then, as an afterthought, a lot of this is just crafting on the go here, I decided to use this beautiful stencil. It's called Splash of Hearts and Land, and I decided to take a crackle mousse that I have that's really close in color to this Evergreen Bow Distress Oxide ink. Well, it's a combination of Evergreen Bow and a different ink. I can't remember. But I just thought the bottom needed a little bit of something. And I thought it would be fun to add this little crackle mousse because it's meant to be kind of like ice. So I love that crackle effect. And it's still subtle. It doesn't take away from that sort of bit of ice that she's ice skating on. I hope that you enjoyed this card, and if you did, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing. And if you want to catch new videos as I post them, subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell. Thanks so much. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.